Swinging a ground ball, stabbed by Folk. He has it. He underhands to first, and the Boston Red Sox are the world champions for the first time in 86 years.
Together they have, and together they stand alone on top of the mountain for now. And once again, the Boston Celtics stand alone for all time. It is banner 18.
No icing. For the first time in 39 years, the Boston Bruins have won the Stanley Cup.
And a title for the Patriots!
I can't believe it!
They have completed the greatest comeback in Super Bowl history.
Good morning, listeners. Welcome into episode 56 of a New Era podcast. My name is Hanson, better known as Fryddy Online, and I am joined here by my dad and co-host, the OG Frid. Dad, would you finally like to say hello to the listeners again?
Yes. Good morning, listeners. Thank you for your patience. I finally feel like a human again.
OG Frid was sick as a fucking dog this week.
If you've had this flu,
The norovirus, or
norovirus,
Did you have it?
yeah, or if it's knocking at your door, tell it to go the fuck away.
Turn around and run. Get out of there. Leave.
Oh,
It is so bad.
Oh my God. It's, 5 days, 6 days now.
That's
Today's the
crazy.
5th.
Mine only lasted 3 to 4 when I had it a couple months ago. But I'm hearing a lot more people like this week get it and be like, "Oh, it's here." Hearing people to get it. I don't know if this is just now the time, if it's really going around now.
Well,
as opposed to December when I got it.
A, it's going around, but B, let's be honest. You're 25. I'm 55.
True. But still, regardless of how old you are, it isn't fun to be fucking pissing and shitting and throwing up everywhere the whole time anyways.
Nope. No, not at all. But enough of that. I don't think he wanted to get into this.
We'll get over that.
Learn about that.
We've got a bit of a quicker episode, obviously just because it's Friday, but we're going to try to make up for the missed time here, and then we'll have another episode on Monday, normal time, back to, the normal stuff, where we really go fully in depth with the Super Bowl.
Super Bowl?
Well, coming up, yeah. I know I just said we're going to go quickly through like the Boston stuff, but actually first I realized we haven't talked about the championship games yet, because that happened on Sunday. So we're going to start off with that. We're going to start off recapping these championship games. We're going to go a little bit into some Boston stuff, and then we're going to start on some kind of fun Super Bowl games, our first thoughts on the Super Bowl, and some fun Super Bowl segments that we have planned. And then next week, kind of like we did with the national championship, we're going to go a full in-depth episode into the Super Bowl. And I've already got a bunch of fun stuff planned for us on next week's episode. So that's something to look forward to. First off, we'll go in the order they were played. We'll talk about the NFC wildcard round. Or not the wildcard round, the conference championship round. I'm looking at the wrong thing on Google here. Early on Sunday, 3 o'clock, we had the ass whooping that started at 3, and that was the Eagles and the Commanders. Finally, the Cinderella story is over. We told you it was birds by a million. They were going to do whatever they wanted on this team, and seemingly they did in a 55-23 win. Looked like, out of all games this season, playoffs included, regular season included, even fucking preseason included, this was probably the best that a team has performed for a full 60 minutes. And what a time to do it leading into the Super Bowl, and the clear reason why we said at the start of this that they would be representing the NFC in the Super Bowl, and they showed it, and so did Saquon Barkley. Dad, I know you were sick, but you were listening to this game as it was happening. What are your thoughts on the Birds and how they looked to win the NFC?
Well, first and foremost, everything I heard, about the Birds is that very slow starting team. And your first play, I mean, your defense shuts down Jaden, which we thought
We said what happened. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you run off and you get that touchdown and you jump off right away. I mean, my God, at that point, I don't care that, yes, it looked a little bit closer on the score later as the game went on, but it
Like into
wasn't
the
even that
third
close.
quarter, you're saying? Yeah.
But it was just not that close of a game.
You just knew, like, even when it was 14-12 and they missed that 2-point, I still just knew, like, it wasn't as close as the score was saying there.
Yeah,
And
Washington
it's
had to get, they were always trying to catch up.
always
And
playing
you
catch up.
and you needed to do this 2-point conversion and get this and that to try and even the score, and then hopefully, mindset wise, just the momentum going on your side just was never there. They just couldn't.
Part of it because, you're in Philly, hostile
Yep.
environment, trying to gain the momentum, trying to have these big plays to keep the momentum there, but also just some of the turnovers and just mistakes that they were making and just shooting themselves in the foot all throughout the game. You could have really told that this game was done after the first two possessions, because you get Washington that goes out there on a 17-play drive that ended up taking like 9 minutes, converted 2 fourth downs on the drive, get within the 30, the shortest fourth down opportunity that they have, like 4th and 2 on that drive, end up not going for it, kick the 3. Eagles fans probably felt good with that one because it felt like the Commanders were rolling down the field, and to be able to hold them to 3 there on a 17-play drive where it felt like they were just getting lucky and getting everything they needed to. And then you turn around in it was 6 seconds and 84 yards or something like that for Saquon and a touchdown. It was just, he was ridiculous, but seeing that explosive play, just one play, boom, out to the outside and let him go, you could be like, oh shit, so this is how it's going to go for the Eagles today, which I don't think any of us, didn't expect. Washington was staying in games because of their offensive ability, but their defense was definitely going to get torn apart by the Eagles like they did. And then you're right, they go up, I think 14-3 or something like that. And then the Commanders bring it back 14-12, miss the 2-point. And then when you could really tell that this game was just turning over and going to be in the hands of Philly was right before halftime there. Commanders get the ball back, fumble it. Eagles get another touchdown. It's now 27-12 at half. And the Eagles were getting the ball to start the second half, and it was just downhill from there. The Eagles looked very scary, though. Very, very scary. This is why I said, at the start of the playoffs when we did our playoff brackets, that the Birds would be taking home the Super Bowl this year. I thought it was going to be the Birds and the Bills, not the Birds and the Chiefs. And it might be a little tougher of a game, but I still feel like for the majority of this year, they were the best team in the NFL, and they definitely showed it on Sunday, and they definitely deserved their trip to the Super Bowl.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. I mean, they are a dynamic team offensively and defensively. The only weak spot, although Justin Tucker, did show up.
Tucker.
I mean,
Jake Elliott
did show up.
You're thinking about all the Justin Tucker shit that went on yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man.
I saw that. Jake Elliott, did show up. I mean, he shows up at least in playoffs.
Yeah, he was terrible in the regular season and missing kicks that he didn't need to. But no, he looked pretty good on Sunday. He did have that missed one in the first half that I was talking to Dino, and he fully expected. He's like, yeah, Jake Elliott's missing this kick, and what do you know? He pulled the fucking kick. They just know their kicker there. But ultimately, it wouldn't have been 58-23 instead of 55-23. They didn't need him regardless. So I think they scored like 8 touchdowns in the game, getting whatever they want. Finally, the Cinderella story ends for the Commanders. We see the real Jaden Daniels come out against an elite defense in the playoffs. Nothing like the Bucks and the Lions that he had played. The Bucks, terrible defense. The Lions, injury-riddled defense. And then you finally get to play in, the games that matter, the big game, the NFC Championship in Philadelphia against what I believe is the best defense in the NFL this year. And it shows, going 29 for 48. It wasn't a horrific game, but it wasn't a great game. And I think it's definitely there. You can look by the stat line. I know he was trying to do everything, and Jaden Daniels wasn't the reason they lost that game. His team was definitely letting him down in some points, but it wasn't outstanding. It was a very mid-quarterback game. And before we move on to the AFC Championship, I just want to put it out there before anybody says anything about this. Jaden Daniels this, Jaden Daniels that. Jaden Daniels and Drake Maye have just as many Pro Bowl appearances after one season. So, just putting that out there now, 1-for-1. All right, moving on to the AFC Championship. Another instant classic between these two teams. We see this every year in the playoffs, and it's so sad every year because now we just know how this happens. Josh Allen moves to 0-4 against Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs in the playoffs, even though he's 4-0 against them in the regular season. Bills take it down 32-29 in a game that caused some outrage online that I have seen. Something in which it seems all 31 NFL teams, not named the Kansas City Chiefs, have come together to say that was quite possibly the worst officiated game ever, and a game that was almost so evident that it was rigged in favor of the Chiefs. I've always believed it a little bit, but I'm not going to, go out here and fucking sing a whole song about how, the game is being rigged for the Chiefs. But this one was terrible. From the Xavier Worthy catch that got called a catch that was not a catch, to the Josh Allen 4th down conversion, looked clearly over the line, called back, to the magic flag that was thrown on that last Dalton Kincaid 4th down missed catch that was randomly picked up after Dalton Kincaid didn't catch the ball, to the multiple times where the ball was spotted just a yard short for the Bills throughout the game. A lot of things that just didn't go well. But it's hard, I don't want to be that guy, but the Bills were facing the Chiefs and facing the refs in this game. It's been very evident, not only to Buffalo fans that have been very vocal and very mad about it this week, as they should be, but other fans of the NFL too that are finally just having enough and getting sick of seeing this happen to the Chiefs, and we're very vocal about it this week as well.
Yes, and I guess you can say, the Bills are playing against the Chiefs and the refs, and some of those, close 4th and 1 and the spot of the ball, but yet, on the same hand, if you didn't put yourself in that opportunity to have to go for it on 4th and 1, have to go for all these early 2-point conversions to get points, I think in my flu-like stress, I think I did tell you on Monday because you were here, the Bills should have kicked field goals or extra points.
Yeah,
extra points instead of going.
2 failed 2-point conversions, one right before the end of the first half after the Mac Hollins touchdown. It was a failed 2-point rush, keeps it at 16-21. And then in the third quarter, the only touchdown of the quarter, James Cook 1-yard run. They got a sack of Josh Allen on the 2-point conversion. That's 4 points left up on the board. That wins you the game. Now, granted, the 2 points, if you kick it, that's only 2 points, but you're in a different situation there, and you maybe handle it a little different. I don't want to, like I said, go out here and cry rigged, blah, 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 all this. But you are right in some sense. While people are pissed off about what happened on the flag being picked up on the Dalton Kincaid, crazy throw from Josh Allen that wasn't caught, but it was put right in his forearms. And I've heard this on a couple other podcasts this week. Josh Allen was gifted the drive on a silver platter. Here is the drive to go and finally lift this off your shoulders. You know, here is the drive. You have 3.5 minutes to go. Go and do something. And while it sucks that they were in that fourth down, they had multiple opportunities to not get to that fourth down on that drive already, from very short, meaningless plays on first and second, and then you're getting into 3rd and 7s, 3rd and 8s, a little longer third down conversions earlier on in the drive, to ultimately the fourth down that ended up not being caught. You had opportunities to not play it as conservatively as they did. Now, I get the reason you do because of how much time is left in that game, but you got to be a little more aggressive there. You got to show something. Who knows? Maybe you don't score a touchdown on that drive, but a little more aggression in first and second down on that drive could get you potentially on the back end of field goal range for Tyler Bass to try to kick one there to tie the game at the end of it and push it into overtime. Now, who knows what would have happened in overtime? I think we both do, just based off of how those games go in Kansas City and everything. But yes, you had ample opportunity in that last drive to not have your season come down to just heave ball down to Dalton Kincaid 40 yards down the field with two guys on him.
Yeah. And
off your back
he's throwing
foot.
off your back foot. And yeah, you mentioned there was still 3 minutes and stuff like that. But we have seen the fact that I don't think Kansas City's offense, especially in those circumstances, if you would have pushed the ball quicker, you would have scored more or faster. And now instead of, you could be leaving him with 2:20 on the clock. And you're like, uh-oh, he's got an eternity. But I don't think they would have controlled the ball for 2:20 to score at the end. I think Patrick would have done something to either have gotten
you another chance to get the ball.
To give you another minute 25 left in which you can now come back. I think, yeah, it was in their mindset. It was in the coaching staff's mindset that I got to run my 4-minute offense to give them no time or very, very little time. And, hell, Patrick did it with 13 seconds in the past. So that's in the back of their mind. Yeah, this team, from the coaching staff to all the players, is just, nightmare for the Bills. And everything they do, clock management, game style, play. Yeah, they're in their head.
They're in their head. They've got their number, and it's shown for 4 years now in the playoffs. Hopefully it'll be a different story next year. I don't know. And I was saying leading up to this game, I felt like this was the Bills team that was finally going to get it done against this Chiefs team, just how they played throughout the regular season and everything. But on paper, too, you look offensively, this team doesn't have like a lot of weapons, really. Yes, they did go out and get Amari Cooper in the regular season through a trade, and Khalil Shakir had a crazy year, and it showed that he can be a viable weapon there offensively for him. And Dalton Kincaid has his ups and downs, but this team, you just, as well as they were playing, you still felt like something was missing here. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in the offseason for Buffalo, and to see if they can finally get above that hump. I'm not sure what else they need to add. I'm not sure what they need to do and what holes they need to fix. I'm sure they're already looking into it on the front office, but they will make some moves and try to take a step up from the team they were this year, even though they were so dominant at some points this year already.
Yeah. I think, offensively, Amari Cooper, yes, can be a 1, but you get him midway through the year, so he hasn't adjusted. He's got to learn the offense midway through, right?
It never felt like he was present in the Bills' game plan enough. Maybe a full offseason will help him get a little more comfortable, but it just never felt like, even after you saw that trade, that you were getting the impact a player of Amari Cooper's caliber should bring to the Buffalo offense.
And yet, on the the other side, Kansas City makes a trade for DeAndre Hopkins, and he seemed a little bit more at ease with the offense.
Yeah, it might come down to how you were trying to force them into their new roles. And I think the breakout of Xavier Worthy halfway through the year for the Chiefs made it that much easier not to force Hopkins into a role that he wasn't ready for in a new system, whereas there wasn't really anything like that on the Buffalo side to alleviate some of that pressure off of Amari once he stepped into town.
So does it go back to that trade? You could have had
absolutely.
the Bills
You
could have had
Xavier
instead of Keon Coleman, and yet you wanted a bigger body in Keon, and as well as the kid did, it's a rookie.
Yeah, he'll be a good guy, but it was always making that trade and drafting Keon there. You would have known Keon would have been a little bit more of a project wide receiver than the instant impact that Xavier Worthy could have brought. Granted, it did take a good majority of the season for him to break out. One thing that's going to translate always between the college game and the NFL is speed. That is one thing that will always translate. Size, yes, can, but at the same time, while Keon Coleman is big, he's big in college football, but then you get to the NFL and you are facing other big guys too. You can't just beat them off size alone. Speed will translate, and ultimately that's what happened with Worthy, and he was able to make some big plays in this game and help them take down the Bills again. So it sets up a Super Bowl matchup. Again, a rematch of 2 years ago between the Eagles and the Chiefs. We're going to step away from Super Bowl stuff here for a quick second. We're going to come back to it a little bit later. We've got a little fun segment that we'll end off with. But before we get there, Dad, let's kind of breeze through some of our Boston stuff for this week. Not much to really talk about. We're in a little bit of a slow period with, the Patriots season being over, and as we're just waiting for the Red Sox to come back and spring training to start. But that's where I'm going to start here. Dad, some of the biggest news I saw this week. We are also, as I was pulling this up, 23 days away from spring training. The first game for the Sox is on February 22nd against the Blue Jays, I believe. So we are almost 3 weeks away from seeing some sort of Red Sox baseball again, which will be interesting. And three big names that'll be on that opening day roster, as we talked about, and we knew this was going to happen. But Campbell, Anthony, and Mayer will have the opportunity to compete for a spot on this year's opening day roster, as all of them have been invited to spring training. Dad, give me your first initial thoughts on the big three being there, even though we kind of saw this coming and have been talking about this for a while.
Of the big three, two will make it. And I think Mayer will not. He needs it's great that he can be with the guys, sit in a clubhouse, go through spring training, which he has already, but yet he still needs to get healthy. He still needs, obviously more at bats, even in the AAA level, to see some of that pitching, the speed, how pitchers can work the ball, just not throw it fast or whatnot, change ups, all the other stuff. He's gonna have to have a good starting point in Worcester for that. So Roman Anthony, very excited to see this prospect. Hoping that the pressure and the build up doesn't have him not play as well and all of a sudden digress. Am I expecting a
regress?
300 regress? Yeah. A 300 bat in the spring training would be great, but let's have the kid hit 285
And that's wonderful, by the way.
Yeah, 3-4
hitting
home
285,
runs.
Fucking 15 years ago. I think about this all the time. It feels like we were seeing 300 hitters everywhere. And that was the line of like, that makes you a good hitter. Now we rarely see 300 hitters in the league. So if you're hitting 260 at this point, they're considering you a good hitter. If you're hitting 280, they're considering you a great hitter. So anywhere in between that range for him, I could see it happening if his skills translate to the majors there in spring training. And I'll be very happy with that. You talk about Maye not making it. I think we both agreed on that. As we were talking about this a couple of weeks ago, that we envision Christian and Roman will make the opening day roster, and Maye will be called up probably in May at some point, maybe June, especially depending on an injury. I'm looking at this article here about more Alex Bregman stuff. I know we say it every week on this podcast, but we're still waiting to hear some news. For much of the offseason, it's looked like Alex Bregman would be the perfect fit here in Boston. But as we continue to go on, now 3 weeks away from spring training, and there's no news about a signing, some of these articles are now saying, well, what does a Red Sox Bregman-less opening day lineup look like? And this one features our star prospect, Christian Campbell, at second instead. This projected order here, Dad, is Duran in left field, batting 1, Devers 2 at third, Cassius at first, hitting third, Trevor Story in the 4 spot at your shortstop, Masa Yoshida in 5th at your DH, Connor Wong, your catcher, batting 6th, Wilyer Abreu batting 7th in right field, Christian Campbell batting 8th at second base, and 9th is Zidane Rafaela in center. A lineup that I'm pretty sure we could have written down and been like, yeah, this is how it would be. The only question there for me would be potentially Juan in 6th. Maybe a couple weeks in, you see Campbell moved up to that 6th if that bat is really working for him. But outside of that, this looks like the lineup that I think we expected to see if Bregman doesn't end up signing here, which it looks less and less to be the case, as we're just not spending the money we have. But like we talked about a couple weeks, maybe that is because we are saving the money for Vladdy next offseason and looking ahead a bit here. As you hear that lineup, are there any holes that you can see? Or, like I said, is this kind of how we envision this would go? And also then, where would you put in Roman a couple weeks into the season once we think he inevitably gets called up to start for the Red Sox?
I think what you would then do, it'd be interesting to see. I mean, do you want to try and play Roman in center, which is obviously a deep center, and the controlling aspect of your defensive outfield, calling off plays? Obviously, he's athletic enough. I don't think you want to try. I mean, left field in Fenway is a monster, no pun intended. But Jaron did very well there. So I guess you put Roman. What I would like to see is put Roman there. Even though Zidane is a tremendous center fielder, put him there and move Zidane to shortstop, creating Travis Story as your DH. Trevor as your DH. Still flu brain, guys. Flu brain. As your DH, and Motzi not DHing.
Yeah, but then it allows you to, switch between the two of them at your DH spot if you need to, and hopefully kind of keep Story fresh throughout the whole year so we don't run into another injury incident later on down the line and potentially into the postseason where you might really need his bat if he can get back up to himself here in a full year of being healthy. Yeah, that's all I got about the Sox here. Just wanted to talk about that. Less than 2 weeks away from the first squad workout and pitchers and catchers reporting. That is on February 12th. So that is our next big deadline, I guess, as we'll await some news for the Sox on potentially some late signings. But baseball is coming. Baseball is going to be here before we know it. And like we talked about right at the end of the Red Sox season this year, we are very excited to see the 2025 Boston Red Sox and what
got
their season.
One quick thing then for you, and one guy that we probably have, obviously we haven't talked much about. We didn't need to talk much about him because he was injured, but with Christian Campbell taking over second base, you have Vaughn Grissom, who's still a very young, exciting player, sitting there on your bench.
Yeah, but he's also very versatile. I don't feel like we need to force him into the starting spot, but I'm very happy to have him there as a bat or as a runner to come in and be able to pinch run, pinch hit. His offseason regimen so far has looked just insane. I've seen some videos of him working out with the squad and Cassius and Trevor Story as they were in Texas, I think about a week and a half ago, doing some sort of kind of team bonding, but also training thing. He looks fucking huge. And I'm happy to see a little resurgence of Vaughn Grissom here. And hopefully, he can live up to some of the hype that he had as this young prospect. And it can finally look like we got something in return for that Chris Sale trade.
Yeah. And he's a right-handed bat that, we said we needed. He could be that.
Could be on the roster all along. Maybe that's why we're not so crazy about going out and overpaying Bregman, who is a little bit older here. And we're not pulling the trigger because, everybody's calling for, you need that right-handed guy and you need that guy that can play third, second. Well, he might be on the roster already. And I think we're starting to see maybe that's what the front office knows. And that's why we're not going so hard after Bregman here, because Grisham is there in Boston already. All right. Moving on to the Bruins. It feels like we have a different mindset on this team every single week when we talk about them. We didn't get to look ahead at the week so far because we didn't do this episode on Monday, but thank God we didn't. Played the Sabres on Tuesday, lost 7-2, 2 separate hat tricks scored on us. And because of how inconsistent this team has been, you'd almost expect that then they come back on Thursday against the Jets and have a good game. Nope, they got fucking wiped away again, 6-2. Play the Rangers tomorrow at 3:30, another weekend matinee to wrap up the week. But as terrible as, this week has gone, the Atlantic Division is just putting along as well. We're sitting there in 5th with 56 points right now. But before this week, we had got all the way back up to 3rd in the Atlantic. We were 6 points out, I believe, of 1st. We are sitting 7 points out of 1st right now with the Panthers at 63, Maple Leafs 62, Senators 58, and Lightning 57. That win over the Lightning last week was really big for our hopes of remaining in this Atlantic Division. Yes, we've still got a couple games. Some of these teams have a couple games in hand on us, but we're still just sticking in it. Just need to have a nice little run against hopefully an easier part of our schedule coming up if we do want to make the playoffs here. But it begs the question, we've talked about this. We know that this is not a Stanley Cup caliber team this year. And there's some major trade rumors still going around now, some of which including the cap with Brad Marchand that have been picking up a little bit more steam recently. It begs the question of when do you kind of put your foot down and do you sell before this deadline, or do you keep Marchand on the team and some of these other guys and see if you can make a run? I don't know. The front office is in a very weird position of what they're going to do. But Dad, if you could make that decision right now for the Bruins, would you move on from Marchand? Would you trade some of these pieces away? And what's your outlook on the rest of the season?
No. I would not. I mean, trading your captain, that's a desperate move. It's going to tell the fan base that you just can't do it this year. And not gonna go after the playoffs, even to get into the playoffs. Which again, sure, I don't think we're a Stanley Cup looking team, but there's been teams. I mean, what the Vegas Golden Knights when they made it, you have a hot goalie, and Swayman can be a hot goalie for you, especially in the playoffs, and anything can occur. But if you trade your captain, it's saying we're not ready for the playoffs. I'm more concerned about dangling. I saw, what is that, JT Miller potential and things. I mean, for him to get somebody like him, that's 35, what's he gonna do? He's a centerman. What's he gonna do? You put Matthew Poitis now on your second line with Coyle and Marchand, and he's starting to look good. I don't want you to say, hey, for us to make a run to get into playoffs, I got to trade this young piece for a 35-year-old. No. Defensively is where we are having huge issues. Obviously, losing 7-2 and 6-2 back-to-back games. You need to get your top two defensemen back healthy.
Yeah.
You need McAvoy and Hampus Lindholm back. And by getting them back, in around here now, around the trade, just before the trade deadline, that's a trade in itself. Especially with Witherspoon, who I think has been playing extremely well. Out of his skates, if you will. Peak has played well. So just get those two back in. Hopefully we'll change that defensive mindset around, get those pairings correct. Mason Laurie's been playing great. So yeah, no, don't trade him.
Yeah, I agree. Sorry, I've been watching Drake Maye's passing the test competition here in the meantime. Since I found a link on it. But yeah, no, I agree. Not much of a reason for a look ahead here because, like I said, we only have the Rangers game tomorrow. But need to come back strong. Need to win that game.
Must
Game 3,
win. Yeah,
must win at this point. Leading into next week because the schedule doesn't get any easier. I know I said hopefully you can make up some of these points with an easier schedule coming up, but we really don't have that at all for the rest of the season, honestly. We don't have a really nice stretch of easier games for us. So got to fix what's happened so far this week and outscored 13-4. Come out tomorrow, guns blazing, try to get those points back, and then move on to next week, which we'll talk about on Monday's episode.
Yeah, and I think really quick, I think the reason why you say there's not an easy stretch, it's the fact that when you lose 7-2 to the lowest team in the Atlantic Division,
nothing's an easy stretch. Yeah,
exactly. Any of these teams could beat us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I agree. Moving on here quickly to the Celtics. This week we had the Rockets and the Bulls so far. After the win against the Mavericks on Saturday in a rematch of the NBA Finals. I know we said something about a 3-1 week last week. Looked really good against the Warriors, 40-point win. Blew that one out. Although I thought that would be a little close. You said that one would be a little easier. Got the win against the Clippers in an overtime game on Wednesday. Lost to the Lakers in a back-to-back on Thursday. This one, though, I'm just going to write off. That's fine. The team's tired back-to-back. We expected one loss this week and then handled the Mavericks pretty well. So we do nail it on the head with a 3-1 week, just not the games that we thought that we were going to drop. Then on Monday, lose against the Rockets. Thought that one should be a little easier than it was. The Rockets are a good team in the West, though, but just based off of how we've played against them so far this year, you wouldn't have expected that. to be that close and end up being a loss, especially at home. Just came down to, at the end of the game, not being able to have a guy to make that final shot with about 5 seconds left, and then having to force a 59-foot 3-point heave by Peyton Pritchard, which he is able to make. But, come back on Wednesday, 22-point win against the Bulls, and then we have the Pelicans tonight. I think it's just going to be the same thing we talk about with the Celtics every week here. Kind of just on cruise control. It's not anything to worry about necessarily. 33-15 is still sitting very pretty. The Knicks are right there on our tail, though, only a game behind in the Eastern Conference standings. But at this point, it's almost like if they're going to stay right there and if the Cavs aren't going to slip up, at what point do you go a little bit more on cruise control and start to position yourself for the first round matchup that you want, which at this point, looking at the standings, in my personal opinion, would be the 3 seed with the Miami Heat sitting there at 6 and Jimmy Butler on his way out inevitably sometime soon.
Yeah, I was looking at the standing wise too. The only problem with us falling to 3 is now that means you only have one series that you're at home court advantage, no matter what is probably going to occur. And then your next round, you're losing that home court, and especially obviously in the Eastern Conference Finals, you're not going to have home court. We have said all the time, doesn't matter. You can't beat this team in a 7-game series. But if it gets close to 3-3 and now you're on the road, I'm a little less
confident.
Yeah.
Yeah, because this isn't something that the team last year that ended up winning the title had to go through. Had the home court all throughout the playoffs, and was able to fall back on that if needed. Now, granted, it never got to that point, but it was something in the back of their mind. If this game 7 ends up happening, we're going to be able to play it in TD. But honestly, too, counterpoint, while I still don't believe there's a team, at least in the East, that can beat us in a 7-game series, I don't know how valuable, at least so far in the regular season, that our home court advantage would be, because we're giving up games at home, like the one, especially against the Rockets, that the team last year wouldn't do. We're very dominant at home, and it doesn't look like we've got that same killer mentality in Boston that we did last year in the title run. So I don't know how important home court advantage would be to this team come the playoffs, but also that could just be a stupid take, because regular season and playoffs are completely different, and the environments are completely different, and the volume of the arena and the intensity of the fans, especially Boston Celtic fans in the playoffs, are going to be completely different. So hopefully that's something that they're still pushing for. We're only 6 games out of first. The Cavs could very well slip up, come up here after the All-Star break. So the first seed is definitely still attainable, but it's going to be a lot harder to get it and maintain it than it was last year when we were just rolling through the East. So like I said, Pelicans tonight at 8, and then Sunday we've got the 76ers in Philly. Those should be 2 easy wins. That I don't want to say easy, but those should be 2 wins for us here, as long as they play up to par with how they did against the Bulls on Wednesday. And then that leads up to a very important next week, which we'll talk about on Monday, but just a little look ahead. We got the Cavs in Cleveland, big game for the standings. We got the Mavericks again, this one Thursday in Boston. Another rematch of the finals there, but hopefully we can take them down like we did last Saturday. And then you end off the week in the Garden. That's the Madison Square Garden against the Knicks, another big game for the Eastern Conference standings. So use these 2 games here against the Pelicans and the 76ers to, kind of fix up some flaws that you saw in the loss to the Rockets and the loss to the Lakers, and go out there next week and, play with some power, man. Go out there and take back those games that are going to be so important once we come down to the end of the season.
Yeah, I agree. But I still think, I was thinking about this this morning. Yes, we have Christoph Porzingis, who did an amazing stat line few games ago, and being at 7-2. But I was just thinking about, all these very tall individuals just have injuries that plague them in their careers. We need still, like you mentioned a couple weeks ago, that kid from Utah. We need a rim protector. We need somebody to get those rebounds, to get those blocks, which I think will absolutely turn this team around and create something different like they had last year. That teams had to focus on, to play against.
Yeah, absolutely. Moving on here very quickly to touch on the Patriots before we get into our last little fun segment here, Dad. Biggest news of the week: the coordinators are set in stone. We have that done. Josh McDaniels reunion back in New England for now. I don't even know how many times. Third time, fourth time, something like that. Third time.
Yep.
And our defensive coordinator is set in stone. The defensive line coach from the Lions, I'm blanking on his name right now. I'm sure you have it in front of you.
Trent Williams.
Not Trent.
Isn't it Trent Williams?
Trent Williams is the left tackle for the 49ers. It's something Williams. But that is said, I'm pretty happy with this staff. The familiarity that Vrabel has with both, with McDaniels here in New England, but then with Williams, their defensive coordinator, that he had time with in Tennessee. So I'm happy I'm pretty sure his guys who he wanted on this staff. And then other staff positions that are getting filled. I don't have all of them in front of me, but there's been a couple this week that look like they're Vrabel guys again. Very happy about the staff that he's bringing in. I've been up in the air about Josh McDaniels. I've been talking about that for a couple of weeks, but as Dad...
Terrell Williams.
Thank you. Yeah, Terrell Williams. As Dad ended up telling me when I texted him after the Josh McDaniels signing, we've talked about it on the podcast sometimes already, but there are some guys that are just set to be coordinators in this league, that have the ceiling of just coordinators in this league. And if we put Josh McDaniels back in an offensive coordinator position, where he's the most comfortable, we're hoping that he can, bring back some of that magic, especially that he did with Mac Jones in his rookie year, that ended up having them as the 5th highest scoring offense in Mac's year. And, it's not a boring offense. That's the one thing I will say, even though I wasn't the biggest fan of the idea of Josh McDaniels. I was bored of the offense this year. It didn't seem like there was enough just magic, enough something going on. Regardless of if it's going to be the perfect hire or not, I can tell you that Josh McDaniels is going to have a fun offense for us to watch next year. And that paired along with Drake's athleticism and the plays that he can make and the plays that he can extend, I think it's going to end up turning out even better than Mac did in his rookie year.
Yeah, and I did make a mistake when I mentioned this to you, saying that Josh has not had a quarterback of, like Drake's ability, run ability. Yes, he did have Cam Newton, but obviously Cam, injury plagued with his shoulder, couldn't throw, obviously, as well. So I take that back, but I had you look or read the stats for the only other athletic type quarterback that we have seen in New England being Matt Castle. That one year that Brady was injured very early in the week and Matt had played 16 weeks and actually looked like a superstar. And Matt was known for more athleticism, obviously, than Tom, and ended up rushing 73 attempts for 270 yards, 3.7 average, I think it was. Obviously, you're going to see the 73 attempts, but I think the yardage wise, I think Drake's going to get close to 550 from those 73. So yeah, it's going to be a very exciting offense under Josh. And let's not forget, Josh just loves being here in New England.
He does. He's going to feel comfortable and be able to bring out that old self of himself again, I believe.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, I'm as the days go on after the hire, I'm getting more excited about it, and especially with Vrabel here. Like we said after the hire and everything, but I'm ready to get to September. I'm ready to put the pads on myself, and I really envision a good turnaround year for the Patriots, depending on how our draft and free agency goes for 'em. All right. Do you have anything else on the Pats here? Can we move on to our little fun segments?
Let's move on to some fun segment.
All right. In the spirit of the Super Bowl, like I said, we're going to go into a more in-depth breakdown on Monday's episode and really break down some props and positions and all of that stuff. But leading up to it, we got 2 weeks of the Super Bowl, so we might as well have some fun with it. And we'll bring back our blind ranking segment. We haven't done one of these in a while, and we've got 2 of them here. So here's the idea. I had myself put together a list of, since 2000, 10 Super Bowls. And Dad, I'm going to give them to Dad here, and he's going to have to blind rank them based off of which are the best games. Now, Dad, obviously this is a Patriots podcast, but we can't be a little biased about, well, this one's better because the Pats won. We'll try to keep it as unbiased as we can in terms of just which game was better. But then after we go through that one, Dad's got a list of, since 2000, 10 random Super Bowl heroes. Now, what is that, you may ask? Well, I said to him, some of the, maybe not like forgotten guys, but some of the heroes of the Super Bowl. Big example, like, well, you can go ahead and say what
I'm
you
sorry.
did.
I shouldn't say heroes. I have 10 plays.
Plays. Okay. You have 10 plays. No, that makes sense because they are, it goes down to the Super Bowl hero, I guess. The impact player is probably the best thing to do. The impact player, a Malcolm Butler interception, a James White performance in Super Bowl 51. These are ones that just come to my head. Hines Ward in the back of the end zone against the Cardinals, stuff like that. Some impact plays. So then I'm going to blind rank 10 impact plays based off of how influential they were to the game and how influential they were to their team ending up taking home the Lombardi. So, Dad, we'll start off here with the Super Bowls first. Let me pick from the list. We're going to start off with, I think this is, oh God, I wish I actually wrote down the number of these because I'm terrible with Roman numerals sometimes. We're going to go with Super Bowl in 2006 to start off. That was the Colts and the Bears. Colts ended up winning this one 29-17. If I remember correctly, this is the one that had the Devin Hester kickoff return in this game, I believe, right at the start. Dad, I'm not sure how much you remember this one or how much you really cared about it at the time, but where would you rank our 2006 Super Bowl with the Colts coming out on top?
Obviously it was good to see the Colts get into and Peyton. But I'm going to say I'm going to put this at number 6. I'm getting
6?
smarter. Yeah.
Yeah, you're getting better with these for sure. I think that's a good start. All right, we'll move on here to, let's go with this one. Let's go to Super Bowl 50 in 2015. I think I had to put this one in here. Super Bowl 50 was a big thing, and they made a whole, marketing thing about it. We got the Broncos and the Panthers. Broncos ended up taking it down 24-10 against a Panthers team that was so close to greatness in an undefeated season until they went 15-1 and lost that last game. Dad, where do you put Super Bowl 50 on this list?
Obviously, locally with the Panthers getting there, Cam Newton, just at this point, MVP, Just something, which I think has translated to some quarterback play more recently. But I'm going to say number 7.
That's fair. I was just about to say, keep in mind how good of a Super Bowl it was. While there was the memorable, Von Miller sack and everything, strip fumble, the game itself wasn't really that great, All right, moving on here. Let's go to include the first Pats one that I'll throw onto this list. We'll make it a little bit harder for you. Let's go 2018 Super Bowl 53, Patriots versus Rams in the 13-3 game.
8.
Say it. Yeah, this game sucked. This game was terrible. Yeah, I hated this game. I was happy to see, Brady win it and everything. Brady get his 6th. But in terms of just being a fan of football, this game was horrific. So good put there. Good placement there. Yeah, you're getting smarter with these. All right. Next, let's go. I'll give you a good one. How about that? We can get away from some of these shitty ones. Let's go 2012. I think this is Super Bowl 47. Ravens and 49ers. The blackout game, if you remember, the lights go out in this one. 34-31. The Baltimore Ravens take it down.
I'm going to say number 5.
5. Okay. Interesting. Think you're still being smart with it.
A Harbaugh. The first.
Yeah, the Harbaugh ball.
Yep.
No, that's a good placement right there. All right. Let's get a little more difficult here, shall we? Let's go. I want to save that one. Let's go more recent, actually. 2021 Super Bowl 56, Rams, Bengals, SoFi Stadium. Rams take it down at home, 23-20.
Obviously, very good close game. Sean McVay. I really can't put that at number 9.
You got
I'm put that
5,
at 4.
6, 7, 8, 4. Okay.
Yep.
That's good. That's fine. 2021 Rams game. All right. Let's go back a little bit. I had to have some of these games included on this list. 2002 Super Bowl 37, Bucks Raiders, 48-21. Bucks take this one down. I don't remember this game too much, but 9. Okay.
Yeah, 9. Yeah.
Yep. 2002 Bucks. And then, oh my God, I cannot fucking write this morning. All right. Now let's get into some heavy hitters here. Let's go 2007 Giants, Pats, Super Bowl. God, what was this? 42. Giants take it down 17-14 in the infamous David Tyree catch.
Fantastic game, keeping us from an undefeated season. I'm going to say number 3.
Number 3. Yep. This list is kind of going right how I thought she'd do it. Next one. Let's go 2013 Super Bowl. Fuck, what is this? I don't care. I'm not looking at that Roman numeral. Seahawks, Broncos. Seahawks absolutely beat the shit out of the Broncos here, 43-8. Legion of Boom in full effect in this game. Dad, where do you put 2013?
I loved how the Legion of Boom, made a name for itself. Great defense, but they manhandled poor Peyton, just made him look bad. I'm going to say number 10.
Number 10, Seahawks. Damn, I might have given you this list in just the perfect order. All right, it comes down to your number 1 and number 2 spots here.
All right.
In terms of the best game, Dad, and this is good. There's a little connection between these two. We're going to start off with 2023, last year, Chiefs, 49ers, 25-22 in overtime. And a comeback by the Chiefs being down, I believe, 10 in the fourth quarter.
I'm going to hold off.
You read
'Cause
right through me here. You
I'm
read
putting in
right
number
through
2.
me here. Yep,
Putting in number 2.
2023 Chiefs. And the connection is the only 2 Super Bowls that have ever gone to overtime. And you read right through this one like a book. That means your number 1 Super Bowl since 2000 is Super Bowl 51, the greatest comeback in Super Bowl history, 28-3. As it's always remembered, the Pats take down the Falcons 34-28. Dad, for a guy, it took you a couple. This might be your best list. I'll go down the list here just so everybody knows. We've got 2016 Pats Falcons at number 1, 2023 Chiefs 49ers at number 2, 2007 Giants Pats at number 3, 2021 Rams Bengals at number 4, 2012 Ravens 49ers at 5, 2006 Colts Bears at 6, number 7 Super Bowl 50 the Broncos and the Panthers, number 8 Super Bowl 53 the Patriots and the Rams 13-3, number 9 the 2002 Bucks blowout 48-21 over the Raiders, and number 10 another blowout 2013 Seahawks 43-8 over the Broncos. A round of applause, Dad. That is a perfect list right there. Good stuff.
Nice. All right.
Let's move on to yours.
So I got the plays of Super Bowls. So my first going to be Jacoby Jones sets the Super Bowl record for his kickoff return. This gives the Ravens at the time a 28-6 lead over the 49ers.
Oh, man, this is going to be a tougher list than I thought. I remember this. Jacoby Jones was fucking great in this game. But in terms of the plays and the impact, with the 49ers still being able to come back, I feel like there's still just some better plays, some better impact plays in this game. But we're going to put this kind of safe. I think I'll put Jacoby at 6 right now.
All right. The circus catch that nearly saves the Seahawks. Russell Wilson throws.
This fucker. Oh my God. Do you remember this in this moment? I think I turned to you after I saw this and I went, fuck, that's the David Tyree catch all over again. That's going to be the one. In terms of how impactful it was to the game, I mean, it created this great ending for the game and forced the Patriots to get put in the position for the Malcolm Butler interception. In terms of how impactful it was for the Seahawks, huge, but in terms of how impactful it was for who ended up winning the game, not as much for them, but it was for us. I don't know. I almost want to say this is probably more impactful than Jacoby Jones, but I don't know how impactful it is. I'm going to put it at 4. That's tough though.
Mm. All right. Next.
I'm just writing down the name of the player to keep him safe.
Yeah. Okay. You had mentioned this, obviously, in picking of my games, the Von Miller strip sack of Cam.
Do you have context again of when this was? Was this when this game was close or this was at the end? I can't remember.
This was, as I recall, this was more towards the end of the game in the fourth quarter.
Really put it away. Yeah. Great play by Vaughn. And, he did end up winning the Super Bowl MVP and deserved it. However, it just felt like the Panthers were never set up to really win this game, and the Broncos and Peyton and on his way out, they just had something that, even though this Panthers team was great during the regular season, didn't have. This might be a hot take, but I feel like there's just going to be some better ones on here. I'm going to put this at 8.
Okay.
Great play. Don't get me wrong. I just feel like there's probably some better ones and better impact players here.
The next one is Porter's pick 6 gives the Saints the first title. Tracy Porter, 31-yard pick 6.
This game was against Colts.
Oh, I'm sorry, it wasn't. He picked it at the 31-yard line. There was just over 3 minutes left in the game.
Yeah. This was still a close game, I believe. Can't remember the final score right now, but when I was looking through the Super Bowl games, I saw this one. I remember this one. Everybody remembers the Porter pick 6 there. This is pretty impactful. And I'm pretty happy with where I have it. I think I'm going to put it at 3, just above Jermaine Kearse's catch here, just because did seal a title for them. And this is a very memorable play in the Super Bowl history and NFL history alone.
The Philly special.
Damn. Oh, man. I might have fucked up here. I probably should have brought some of these down earlier. Damn, this one hurts. If I still had 3 or 4 open, I'd probably put it here. But I don't think I can put it 1 or 2 because I think I might know what you have down the line here. I'm gonna set it at 5. I don't think it gives it as much credit as it should. But yeah, that's a big play, very memorable and definite turning point in that game.
Next is Eli Manning's defining throw to Mario
Manningham. Yeah, and this is the one that he falls backwards into the end zone, right? Or no. He caught it. No, because Ahmad Bradshaw ended up falling into the end zone.
Yeah, this is the sideline catch with Chung just like draped over 2 defenders. Over him. Yep.
Yeah. This was also a close game, and because of how close it was and everything around, the game in 07 and then the game in 11 as well. I'm gonna have to put this at, man, fuck, you're gonna have some big plays, but no, that's fine. I'm gonna have to put this at 2. This was big. This one hurts. I have fucking nightmares about that play all the time, but yeah.
The Santonio Holmes winning touchdown grab in the corner at the end zone.
I had said Hines Ward earlier. It was Santonio Holmes. Good play, but like routine ball here. Great catch. Great game. Oh my God. I definitely fucked up here. We'll put it at 7. This should be higher, but we'll put it at 7. Yeah, you stumped me here today. You fucking nailed mine, but you have stumped me here.
How about Malcolm Butler's pick?
That's one. And you're gonna have the helmet catch in here, and I'm gonna have to put it at 9 or 10. I fucked this up, but Malcolm Butler's interception, not just in terms of a fan, but everything on the line there, and just after the Jermaine Kearse catch, I mean, how can that not be one in terms of most impactful and memorable play since 2000 in the Super Bowl?
Julian Edelman's circus catch.
I'll put that at 9. I'll put it at 9. Fuck, I've set myself up. It's going to be the helmet catch at 10 here, isn't it?
Helmet catch at 10.
God damn it. Yeah, I fucked this up so bad, man. Yeah. I don't even know if putting Edelman 10 and helmet catch there 9 helps. All right, the perfect actual.
Let me just
tell me.
I'm just going to run through. So these are it said the 25 best plays. Obviously a bunch of these were outside of the time frame that we're doing it since 2000. But at number 22 they have Jacoby Jones.
Mm-hmm.
So that would have been technically your number 10. Next would have been the circus catch by the Seahawks.
9. Oh, okay. Yeah. I think I let
Next,
my bias of a fan and how these made me feel get to me a little more.
the Von Miller.
I have him at
Following-
8. That would work.
Okay. Following with Tracy Porter's pick.
Mm,
This, they ended up putting Edelman's circus catch next.
okay.
Then we go to the Philly special.
Mm-hmm. So that would have been 6, I think.
Eli Manning's throw to Mario Manningham.
Mm-hmm.
Santonio Holmes catch for a touchdown.
Mhm.
Malcolm Butler's pick,
Wow.
and then the helmet catch.
Yeah. You know what? I'm gonna try to defend myself here.
Okay.
I can. This is not the perfect list by any means. However, if we do recall, while the helmet catch is memorable,
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing this in terms of how influential they were to winning the game. Now, this was big, but don't forget, they still had to throw a touchdown to Plaxico Burress after this catch would set them up. That could be my only way of getting out of this, but 10 is still so low. If I could do this
Putting
over,
it at 10, yeah, that is
yeah.
low.
If I could do this over, I'd go Butler interception, helmet catch, Porter pick 6. I'd probably move Manningham. I'll go Centennial Holmes 4. I'll go Manningham 5. Philly special 6. We'll go Von Miller 7. Jacoby Jones 8.
And Julian still at 9.
Yeah, Julian 9, Jermaine Curse 10. Yeah, I think that would be my perfect list. But you stumped me. You definitely got the better of me in this blind rankings. But that was fun. We'll definitely have something else like that in a bunch of fun segments that we're going to have planned for next week's episode, looking ahead at the Super Bowl. While we will talk a little bit about Boston sports, we had a lot of fun breaking down the national championship like we did in the last episode. So next week's episode is going to be mainly focused on the Super Bowl, and you can see outside of us just being fans how we break down sports and games from just a sports fan perspective, and it'll be a little more of a balanced podcast episode for some of our non-Boston sport fan listeners. So I'm pretty excited for that. But Dad, do you have anything else here before I get us out?
No, I'm good. I'm just happy I won a blind ranking.
Yeah, not even just one, but absolutely schooled me in this one. And that's one of the best. That's probably the best list. I think I gave them to you almost in this order too. I probably should just went down the line, but you knew what you were holding out for. And
yeah, I knew.
Yeah, that was great. I should have thrown you for a loop. I should have just not included that. But how can I do a list of the best Super Bowls since 2000 and not include that?
Yeah.
You just knew that was going to be on there. But all right. Well, we appreciate you guys listening in to episode 56 of A New Era podcast. Once again, as always, if you would like to catch us outside of our podcast episodes on social media, make sure to follow us there at A New Era Podcast on Twitter, at A New Era Podcast on Instagram, A New Era Podcast on Facebook. And if you would like to email us any questions, concerns, or funny business, A New Era Podcast at gmail.com. We once again appreciate you guys listening, and we will catch you next week for our Super Bowl extravaganza episode in episode
Woo-hoo.
57.
Can we say Super Bowl?
Yeah, why not?
I don't know.
I mean, I'll call it. No, fuck it. I'll call it the Shitter Bowl because it's, what nobody wants to see this year. But
yeah,
Super Bowl episode next week.
Love you, son.
Love you, Dad.